They don't just stumble into our lives. Not by luck. Not by mistake. There's a rhythm beneath the surface. A silent choreography that pulls certain people toward us. Not to think it's random. The old friend. The heartbreaking lover. The stranger. Who says just one sentence that lingers for years. But what if none of them were accidents? What if every encounter was a kind of whisper from the universe, written long before you were born? Carl Jung didn't believe in coincidence, not in the way we often do. He spoke of something deeper, the idea that those who enter our lives do so with purpose. Even if that purpose feels like pain, they're not just people. They're reflections. Agreements made beyond time. Echoes of the soul's hidden script. Some come to comfort, others to break us wide open, but all of them arrive on cue, just as we're ready to see a piece of ourselves we've buried. We live in a world obsessed. With chance, we chalk up life-changing moments to fate or luck, shrugging off deeper meaning. But Jung offered a radical lens, one that turns every meeting into a message. He believed life isn't a string of disconnected events. There's a thread, invisible but alive, that runs through our experiences, pulling them into alignment with what we need to become whole. He called this thread synchronicity, where the outer world and your inner world speak the same language. Moments that seem unconnected on the surface, but beneath, they vibrate with personal significance. You meet someone and feel like you've known them forever? That's not fate. It's your unconscious casting shadows into reality. These aren't coincidences. They're invitations to evolve. In Jung's therapy room, synchronicity wasn't just theory, it was experience. He once sat with a woman speaking of a dream about a golden scarab, only to have a rare beetle tap at his window. Not magic, not superstition, but something sacred. That moment cracked her logical defenses and pulled her into the realm of symbols, dreams, and deeper truths. The psyche, Jung believed, doesn't live in the mind alone. It spills into the world. And when something inside us demands to be seen, the outer world responds in people, in moments, in strange alignments that beg us to pay attention. These people, these so-called strangers, are messengers cloaked in skin. They speak not only to who we are, but to who we're becoming. The kind word that saves you. The betrayal that unmasks your deepest wound. Each is a chapter in the story of your becoming. Jung didn't promise comfort. In fact, he warned that growth often arrives wrapped in discomfort. The soul doesn't crave ease. It seeks wholeness. And to become whole, we must face what we've denied: our shadows, our pain, the parts of ourselves we swore we'd never look at again. And so, when someone enters your life and shakes you, it may not be cruelty. It may be timing. A sign that you're finally ready to confront what lives beneath the surface. Because some people don't come to stay. They come to wake something in you. They arrive when the psyche is ready. And no, it's never by chance. Have you ever noticed how certain people show up not just in your life, but in a specific moment of your life? Not when things are calm, not when you're indifferent, but when your world is shaking, when your heart is raw, your mind uncertain, or your soul searching for something it can't quite name. That's not coincidence. That's timing with intention. When we stand at the threshold after a heartbreak, a spiritual awakening, a loss that leaves us hollow, something stirs beneath the surface. Jung believed this is when the unconscious becomes most alive, most vocal. And it doesn't always speak in dreams. Sometimes it sends a person, a stranger who suddenly makes sense of your chaos. Brief encounter that cuts through the noise. They don't come to fix you. They come to reflect you. Because when you're on the edge, life places a mirror in front of you, not to show you how you look, but to show you what you carry. We often imagine our inner world is private, locked behind thought and memory. But the psyche wants more than to be known. It wants to be seen. And so, it finds a way through others, Ever wonder why the same kind of people keep appearing in your life? The emotionally unavailable ones, the ones who hurt, manipulate, vanish. From the outside, it looks like bad luck, but look deeper, and you'll see something else. Patterns. Patterns aren't punishments. They're messages. Each person you're drawn to or repelled by says something about a part of you still asking to be healed. They are reflections, not of who they are, but of what still echoes inside you. Imagine you keep meeting people who abandon you. It feels cruel, doesn't it? But what if the soul is showing you an old wound, something you were never allowed to grieve, something from childhood left unresolved? The psyche doesn't give up. It keeps repeating the lesson until you finally listen. And then there's the emotional charge. You meet someone and your whole body reacts without logic. A rush of anger, a sudden connection so strong, it feels ancient. Or a fascination that won't let go. Jung told us to trust these moments. Strong emotions are signals, evidence that you've touched something sacred, something buried. Maybe it's your shadow lashing out. Maybe it's your inner ideal showing up in someone else's face. But one thing is clear. It's not just about them. It's about you and what they awaken. Some meetings feel like explosions, others like whispers. But either way, they mark a shift. The start of something, the end of something else. Think back. The teacher who said something you've never forgotten. The stranger who looked into your pain and didn't flinch. The friend who handed you a book that changed everything. To the outside world, it looks like luck. But within you, a door opened. These aren't just encounters. They're initiations. Moments where your old self cracks just enough to let a new one form. Moments where the unconscious doesn't hide behind symbol. It becomes one. And sometimes, that symbol is a person. A soul crossing paths with yours, just long enough to leave a mark that never fades. We walk this world believing we're alone, separate souls in separate bodies, crossing paths by chance. But Jung saw something deeper, something ancient moving beneath the surface. He spoke of a shared realm, a vast psychic ocean we all draw from, the collective unconscious. In this hidden landscape live the timeless figures, the mother, the trickster, the guide, the lover, and sometimes they wear the faces of the people we meet. You think you've just met someone, but your soul may recognize something older, not the person, but what they carry. A symbol, an echo, an energy that speaks to something sleeping within you. That's why some people feel larger than life, not because they are, but because they awaken what's buried in the archetypal depths of your being. They light up a layer of you that isn't personal. It's universal. And when their role is complete, they vanish. The magic fades. You're left with no explanation, only transformation. This isn't failure. It's fulfillment. A soul agreement honored in full. Jung's view of who shows up in your life isn't random. It's not about luck. It's about alignment. Your inner world, what you've faced, what you've hidden, what you're just beginning to uncover sends out signals. And those signals call people in. Don't attract what you wish for. You attract what you are, in your light and in your shadows. The pain you haven't healed, the fear you've kept quiet, the love you're still learning to give yourself. If you're carrying a wound you've refused to look at, you may meet someone who touches it sharply, not to hurt you, but to reveal what's still alive beneath the surface. If you're afraid of being truly seen, life may send you someone who emotionally vanishes, mirroring that fear right back to you. And when you begin to step into self-worth, you'll find people who test your boundaries, asking if you'll finally honor them. These are not punishments. They're soul-level invitations. Two energies meet, yours and theirs, not by logic, but by deeper resonance. Even if they never know it, some people are simply meant to awaken you. They might resist the connection. They might leave as fast as they arrived, but that doesn't mean they weren't meant to come. Their role wasn't to stay dot, it was to shake something loose. Jung believed the unconscious isn't passive. It's not just watching from the shadows. It's orchestrating your desires, your heartbreaks, your buried longings. It notices all of them. And when the moment is right, it casts the next character in your story. A stranger at a party, a text out of nowhere. Conversation in a hallway you didn't expect to walk down. Behind it all, you're unconscious, quietly setting the stage. And the more you resist change, the more disruptive the entrance might be. Not out of cruelty, but because the soul sometimes needs to be startled awake. And when the message is received, that person may simply fade, because they were never meant to walk the whole path, only to mark the turning point. In Jungian thought, people are more than people. They are symbols, embodiments of what your psyche is ready to confront. The one who mirrors your pain and your power. The one who presses all your buttons, your emotional trigger. The one who offers a truth so sharp it splits your old worldview in two. The one who disrupts your numbness. The one who gently guides you to healing. You might love them at first glance. You might recoil instantly. But either way, the connection runs deeper than personality or preference. It's symbolic. The friend who casually hands you a book that shifts your beliefs. The lover who exposes your deepest fear of abandonment. The stranger who, in one sentence, changes your direction. All of it is meaningful. These are not surface-level interactions. They are the unconscious made, visible life speaking in human form. And timing? It matters more than we know. Not just when, but what kind of time. The Greeks had a word for it. Kairos, sacred time. Not measured by clocks or calendars, but by readiness. By soul, RIPENESS. KIROS is the moment when everything clicks, not because it makes sense, but because it feels fated. It's the spiritual opening where meaning floods in. You might chase connection for years and find nothing. Then suddenly, in your most broken hour, someone arrives and everything shifts. That's not Chronos time. That's Kairos. That's synchronicity whispering, now. Because your soul doesn't move on a clock. It moves through thresholds. And the people who meet you there, they come when you're ready. There's a strange beauty in the way people arrive in our lives, not just when we're celebrating, but when we're unraveling, right after the silence of grief, right when we begin to look inward, right as the soul begins to stir. You start therapy. You begin journaling your dreams. You choose solitude over noise. And then, without warning someone, peers, they feel tailored to your moment. They might see through your sadness with a kind of clarity that unnerves you, or they might irritate you so deeply that they shake something loose inside you. Either way, their presence isn't random. It's rhythm. Jung believed these arrivals aren't prizes for healing. They are invitations to descend further. To challenge the healing you thought was complete, because healing doesn't march in straight lines. It spirals. Each person you meet may represent a deeper layer of the same wound, the same lesson. The further you grow, the more refined the messengers become. But echoes of the past still find their way back, not because you failed, but because you're still completing the circle. And when the lesson is complete, they go. One of the hardest truths Jung ever shared was this: people leave when their symbolic work is done. The ego clings. It aches. It wants more of what felt meaningful, but the psyche is quiet in its knowing. You received what you needed. They don't always leave gently. Some drift. Some vanish. Some end things in fire. But what matters is not the way they left, but what they lit within you before they did. So the real question isn't, why did they walk away? It's, what did they wake up in me? That question turns sorrow into wisdom. That's alchemy. And once you begin to see life through this lens, your past begins to shimmer with new clarity. The friend who betrayed you? She taught you how to draw a line. The partner who broke you? He showed you your dependency. The stranger who said just the right thing during a panic attack? They reminded you of the healer inside you, waiting to be heard. Jung taught that your life is not a mess of unrelated scenes. It's a story, and every character, every twist, every ache has a purpose. You weren't meant to be comforted. You were meant to awaken. And if you've ever wondered why the same types keep returning, the unavailable, the controlling, the manipulative, it's not fate punishing you. It's the unconscious repeating the pattern. An archetype is still active. Jung called them ancient blueprints, universal forces of emotion. Desire, fear, and identity. They don't belong to you alone. They belong to all of us. But they show up differently in each life. And when they meet your unresolved wounds, they take shape in people. In moments. In magnetic, emotional flashes. A desire you can't explain. A fear that blindsides you. A rage that seems too big for the moment. That's not just a person. That's a projection. An archetype wearing skin. They're not simply them. They're who your soul is asking you to face. Asterisk. There's a strange beauty in the way people arrive in our lives. Not just when we're celebrating, but when we're unraveling. Right after the silence of grief. Right when we begin to look inward. Right as the soul begins to stir. You start therapy. You begin journaling your dreams. You choose solitude over noise. And then, without warning, someone appears. They feel tailored to your moment. They might see through your sadness with a kind of clarity that unnerves you. Or they might irritate you so deeply that they shake something loose inside you. Either way, their presence isn't random. It's rhythm. Jung believed these arrivals aren't prizes for healing. They are invitations to descend further. To challenge the healing you thought was complete. Because healing doesn't march in straight lines. It spirals. Each person you meet may represent a deeper layer of the same wound, the same lesson. The further you grow, the more refined the messengers become. But echoes of the past still find their way back, not because you failed, but because you're still completing the circle. And when the lesson is complete, they go. One of the hardest truths Jung ever shared was this. People leave when they're... Sometimes, you're not falling in love with a person. You're falling in love with a reflection. A part of yourself you've buried, forgotten, or never dared to claim. Jung believed that we don't just see people as they are. We see them through the lens of our own unconscious. And often, that lens is tinted by projection. You crave tenderness, so you're drawn to someone warm. You long to be seen, so you idolize the one who listens. But are you truly seeing them or the part of you they represent? This is the silent shape of projection. It feels real. It feels divine. And yet it often ends in confusion. Because when the veil lifts, when the mirror breaks, you're left staring at a stranger. That's the moment your soul hands you back what you gave away. The illusion may dissolve, but in its place, there's a treasure, a part of you, returned. Projection is powerful. Creates desire. It creates rage. It can even create obsession. But Jung didn't call it madness. He called it a message. Because behind the emotional storm is meaning. And behind that meaning is an archetype. Let's look at the ones that most often enter our lives. The lover, anima or animus. That sudden, electric connection. You meet someone, and it's like you've known them forever. But what you really know is the part of yourself they reflect. Your soul's unexpressed femininity or masculinity. Your buried tenderness. Your boldness, your grace. You don't love them. You love what they awaken in you. And when the projection fades, the spell often breaks. The wounded child. You keep choosing people who feel oddly familiar. Not in face, but in feeling, the way they withhold affection, the way they love, INCONS, ICE-T, ENTL. Why? Because that part of you still believes. Healing can come from repeating the past, but the soul doesn't seek comfort, it seeks closure, and so it repeats the wound, until you stop looking outward for the love you must give yourself. The rescuer. You always find the broken ones. You always want to fix, to heal, to save. But why? Because somewhere deep down, your own pain hasn't been held, so instead of facing your own ache, you try to soothe it in others. And those who need rescuing are drawn to you, not because they honor your heart, but because your inner child still believes love must be earned through self-sacrifice. The shadow figure. They anger you. They disgust you. You want to avoid them, block them, erase them from your life, but they return. Different faces. Same energy. Why? Because they carry traits you are taught to reject in yourself. Power, selfishness, arrogance, desire. And until you face those parts within, they will keep showing up outside. Not to torment you, but to complete you. It's not about them, it's about you. And here's the hardest truth. You'll keep meeting the same person in different forms until you become aware of the pattern. This isn't bad luck. It's repetition. Compulsion, a loop designed by the unconscious to get your attention. The names change. The details change. But the lesson stays. Jung said, what you resist not only persists, but grows. You don't stop the cycle by replacing people. You stop it by replacing perception. By meeting your own unmet needs. Pulling back the projection. By seeing clearly. At last. Because healing doesn't come from finding the right person. It comes from finding the hidden parts of yourself you've been trying to meet in others all along. Asterisk. What if the people in your life aren't just showing up randomly, but tuning into the frequency you're already radiating? We often think attraction is about choice, that we're picking people based on compatibility, logic, or desire. But beneath all that, something deeper is happening. Your emotional state has a frequency. It sends out silent signals, what Jung called the magnetic field of the psyche. And those signals draw people in. If you're in fear, you'll find others walking in fear. If you're in survival, you'll meet those locked in the same energy. If you're awakening, you'll attract those carrying intensity, purpose, and depth. It's not always about who you want. It's about what your energy calls forth. That's why someone can check every box and still feel wrong. And why someone completely unexpected can stir something real. Your nervous system feels what your mind can't explain. These aren't just relationships. They're responses. Reflections. Echoes of what still needs your attention. Emotional wounds. Send out a charge, and that charge attracts matching archetypes. Until you heal, life keeps casting familiar roles in unfamiliar faces. Costumes. Same patterns. So how do we stop it? How do we shift the story? Not by forcing it, not by avoiding people, but by becoming aware. Awareness is the beginning of freedom. Next time you feel the pull, the trigger, the obsession, pause. Ask yourself, what is this person showing me about myself? What part of me are they reflecting? Am I loving them? Or what they symbolize to my soul? When you name the archetype, you take back your power. You reclaim the energy you unknowingly handed over. You begin to reintegrate the qualities you once projected outward. If you keep playing the savior, maybe it's time to meet the part of you that's still longing to be saved. If you always fall for the lover, maybe it's time to build intimacy within your own emotional world. The end of projection doesn't mean the end of connection. It just means the beginning of truth. Real love begins when fantasy ends. And here's the beauty. As you change, so do the people you attract. The mirror shifts. The lover who once made you feel abandoned may now teach you healing. The shadow you once feared may now train you in strength. The wounded child who begged for validation may now radiate compassion. The archetypes don't disappear. They evolve as you do. They become allies, reflections of your growth, not your gaps. Jung never saw people as fixed characters. He saw them as carriers of lessons, of truths, of unfinished stories, even the ones who broke you, even the ones who came and left too soon, especially the ones who arrived during your transformation. They weren't mistakes. They were soul-arranged encounters, crafted to show you exactly where you are and where you're ready to go. And then there's the shadow, the ones who trigger you the most, the ones you want to avoid, judge, escape. They are your greatest teachers, because they hold your rejected pieces, not evil, just unseen. Your rage, your jealousy, hunger, your longing, even your greatness, the parts you were told to hide, the parts that felt too much, and until you claim them, you'll keep seeing them walking around other people. So when someone ignites you, ask not, why are they doing this to me? But instead, what are they showing me about what I still refuse to see? Because once you look, once you truly see, you begin to reclaim what was always yours. And that is how you become whole. From the moment we're born, we're taught what's acceptable and what's not. Be quiet. Don't cry. Don't get angry. Be good. So we adapt. We hide. We split ourselves to survive. The parts of you that were too loud, too emotional, too needy, the parts that made others uncomfortable, got buried, not erased, just pushed into the dark. This is how the shadow is born. Not evil, not wrong, just unseen. And here's the secret. What gets buried doesn't stay buried. It waits. And when it's ready, it doesn't come back as a dream. It comes back as a person. You don't just meet people. You meet your shadow, in flesh and blood. In the partner who betrayed you. In the friend who never says sorry. In the boss who questions your worth. In the one who makes you feel invisible. Again. It's not random. It's a mirror. A moment crafted by your unconscious to bring the hidden into the light. The one who NJ you? It's not just lovers who stir the shadows. Sometimes it's your sister, your father, your oldest friend, even your child. The friend who competes with you? She may be showing you the ambition you've buried. The parent who shames you might be echoing the inner critic you've carried for years. The child who breaks every rule could be reawakening the rebel inside you, the one you silenced to be accepted. These aren't just difficult relationships. They're mirrors. And the closer the bond, the clearer the reflection. Intimacy peels away the mask. It dissolves persona. What's left is raw, unfiltered shadow. But Jung never asked us to blame these people. He asked us to see them not as enemies, but as guides. They may not know they're teaching you. They may not mean to hurt you, but their presence holds a message. More intense your reaction, the more powerful the shadow being touched. The more curious you become, the more energy you take back. That's the essence of shadow work. It's not about becoming perfect. It's about becoming whole. It's asking the hard questions. What exactly about them gets under my skin? Have I ever done something similar, even just a little? Is there something in them I secretly admire, but won't admit? Does this dynamic feel eerily familiar, like childhood? Shadow work isn't about acting on impulse. About investigating the impulse, tracing it back to its roots, honoring its wisdom. And integrating its truth. The people who trigger you the most, they are your greatest assignments. They force you to see what you've left unclaimed in yourself. And here's the shift. The more shadow you integrate, the less power others have to control your emotions. You become aware. You become free. Not because difficult people vanish, but because they no longer dictate your worth. Their behavior is no longer your identity. Just feedback, just reflection. You stop asking, why did they hurt me? And start asking, where am I still hurting? That's where healing begins. That's the path to INDIVIDUATION. Because in Jung's world, psychological freedom doesn't mean escaping the world. It means not letting the world shape your center. That means becoming sovereign. And in that sovereignty, you meet people differently, not to complete you, but to reflect the completeness you've reclaimed. Even your enemies become part of the story, not villains, but pages in your integration. Because the shadow was never the enemy. Denial was. And the moment you face it, you reclaim your power, your peace, your path, and perhaps it goes even deeper. Jung didn't speak of soul, contracts in literal terms, but he understood the soul as a direction, that we are not just random fragments colliding, but meaningful beings in motion. What if the people who wound you, the ones who awaken you, challenge you, transform you, aren't accidents? What if they answered a call you don't remember making? The psyche always moves toward wholeness. It speaks through dreams, illness, emotion, and encounter. And sometimes it speaks through a person. Not by chance, but by design. Jung revered myth and symbol for a reason, because they hint at something timeless guiding our lives. So maybe that heartbreak, that betrayal, that sacred friendship was never random. Maybe it was the unfolding of a vow and agreement beyond memory. And invisible. Hand shaping your path toward becoming yourself. Asterisk. What if, before you ever took your first breath, your soul already knew who you'd meet? What if some of the most painful, beautiful, confusing relationships in your life weren't accidents, but agreements? A soul contract isn't something you remember. It's something you feel. A pull, a storm, a connection that doesn't make sense, but changes everything. From a spiritual lens, soul contracts are pre-life agreements, a promise between souls to meet in this life in precise moments to help one another grow. From Jung's perspective, it's the psyche doing what it always does, organizing your outer world to reflect your inner evolution. You don't choose these encounters consciously, but your soul does. The question isn't why did this happen? The real question is, what is my soul trying to become through this? And not all contracts are gentle. Some shake you, some shatter you, but every one of them has a role. Let's look at the patterns, the roles people play when soul contracts unfold. The catalyst, they enter like lightning. Brief, intense, unforgettable. Might meet during a crisis or in a moment of deep openness. Love flares, or chaos erupts. And just as quickly as they arrive, they disappear. But their purpose wasn't to stay. It was to ignite something in you. Their exit hurts deeply. But that pain is the beginning of your rebirth. The mirror, they show you your truth. Unfiltered, uncomfortable, unavoidable. They challenge your beliefs, your habits, your self-image. They don't coddle. They reflect what you've denied. They hold up to your face. And while it may feel like criticism, it's actually your unconscious material made visible. They might be a friend, a partner, a teacher, or even someone you consider an enemy. But what they stir is yours. The wound revealer. This one's the hardest. They awaken your oldest pain, not because they hate you, but because your soul needs to finally face it. They echo your childhood wounds. They remind you of the dynamics you swore you'd never repeat. But here they are playing them out again. You might feel betrayed, abandoned, manipulated. But beneath that is a deeper truth. You're being asked to heal, not to relive. It's not punishment. It's release. The unconditional this soul arrives with softness. They don't trigger you. They hold you. Their presence is calm, grounding, safe. They might not be dramatic, but they are steady. They're the friend who listens without fixing, the partner who stays without demanding, the teacher who sees you without judgment. Their role is to make space for your soul to unfold. Safely. The departure agent. Some people are not meant to stay. They are here to teach you how to let go. You may love them with everything you have, but love alone isn't enough to hold them. And when they leave, something inside you is forever changed. They awaken grief. They teach surrender. They initiate rebirth. Because sometimes, loss is the only thing powerful enough to crack open the next version of you. So no, not every soul contract feels like love, but every one of them is love in a deeper, older language. They were never random. They were chosen, not by your mind, but by your becoming. Asterisk. Some people come into your life and not to stay, but to stir. They're not here to walk beside you forever. They're here to awaken something you've been avoiding. Jung reminded us, the psyche doesn't chase comfort, it chases evolution. And once a relationship no longer serves your growth, it begins to unravel. That's not a failure. It's a completion. People leave not because something went wrong. They leave because the contract is fulfilled. You may feel the urge to hold on out of love, habit, or fear, but when their role is done, the unconscious begins to push. A distance grows. A conflict ignites. A silence settles in. And if you resist the ending, you suffer. But if you release them with reverence, you expand. Some contracts are temporary, some lessons short-lived, but their impact timeless. And then there are the ones who keep coming back, not in form, but in pattern. The names change, the faces shift, but the energy feels familiar. Another partner who abandons. Another friend who drains you. That other boss who devalues you. Not punishment. It's a repeated invitation. The soul saying, here's your chance to choose differently, until the lesson is embodied with boundaries, with awareness, with compassion. Projection. It's one of the quietest forces shaping our lives, and one of the most powerful. It begins when the psyche takes something hidden within, a trait, a longing, a fear, and casts it outward onto someone else. It can be something beautiful, like compassion or confidence, or something painful, like control, anger, or selfishness. Either way, it's not about them. It's about what you haven't yet claimed in you. If you've buried your assertiveness, you may be drawn to those who speak boldly, admiring them or fearing them. If you ache for unconditional love, you may fall hard for someone who offers even the smallest taste. If you've denied your own shadows, you may see danger, toxicity, or evil in others without realizing those seeds live in your own soil. This isn't delusion. It's a coping mechanism. Projection protects the ego from being overwhelmed, but it also distorts reality. It binds us to people not as they are, but as our unconscious needs them to be. Jung once wrote, the most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. Projection is what happens when we're not ready for that. And that magnetic pull you feel toward someone. That spark? That obsession? It's not always love. It's often projection in disguise. Emotional chemistry, especially when it hits like lightning, can be a red flag, not a green light. In Jungian work, early intensity is often a sign that a deep archetypal projection is in play. You meet them, and it feels electric. You can't stop thinking about them. You swear you've known them forever. That's not always fate. It's your psyche recognizing something within you. In them, you're not falling in love with a person. You're falling in love with a part of yourself you've long forgotten. At the core of this dynamic live, two powerful inner figures. The anima and the animus, the archetypal feminine in men, and the archetypal masculine in women. These are not just gendered concepts. They are soulful energies, your emotional depth, your intuition, your strength, your wisdom. When unintegrated, we don't live them inside, that we search for them outside. A man may see a woman and think she's saved me emotionally. A woman may see a man and believe he'll give my life meaning. It feels divine, that it feels like destiny. But it's not love, that it's longing. Projected, and no one, no matter how magical, can carry your soul for you. When the projection collapses, as it always will, a fall is brutal, because you weren't really loving them. You are loving a lost part of yourself, they unknowingly carried. But projection isn't just for lovers, it's everywhere, in friendships. You might project the healer, the rescuer, the one who always saves you, in family. You may cast someone as the enemy, or the golden child, or the one you could never be. You may look to a mentor and see a parent you never had. You may compete with a sibling, not because of them, but because of the wound that never got soothed. These stories live in your unconscious. And when they project outward, you stop seeing the person and only see the role they're playing in your inner myth. This creates imbalance. You give too much, expect too much, feel too much, and all the while, you're not truly in relationship with them, but with a part of yourself you've given away. Jung called this emotional inflation, a kind of psychic entanglement where you lose the line between self and other. The path to healing? Reclaim the projection. Withdraw the story. See the person as they are, and meet the parts of yourself you've been trying to find in them. That's when love becomes real. That's when connection becomes clean. That's when relationships move from symbolic to authentic. There's a moment in every journey of awakening when the illusion begins to fade, and what's left is the truth, not the fantasy, not the projection, but the person. This is the heartbreak of growing up emotionally seeing someone not as your savior or your villain, but as a whole, flawed, living human being. Withdrawing a projection isn't easy. It hurts, because you're not just letting go of a person, you're letting go of what they symbolized. But it's also the beginning of real love, of real connection, of real selfhood. When you stop seeing through the lens of need and fear, you see with clarity. And that clarity does one of two things. It either dissolves the relationship because it was built on illusion, or it deepens it because now something authentic can finally begin. To withdraw a projection is to say, I see what I placed onto you, and I take it back. It means asking, what part of me was I trying to find in you? What did I make you responsible for? What trait did I idolize or despise? Because I couldn't hold it in myself? This doesn't mean tolerating harm. It means owning your side of the mirror. Not blaming, but seeing. Because everyone you meet is a mirror, not a monster. Not a muse. Just a mirror. And Jung understood these mirrors are sacred. They're invitations to retrieve lost parts of your soul. But here's the twist. Sometimes it's not even about the person. It's about the feeling. That rush. That high. That sense of finally being seen. You think you're addicted to them, but you're really addicted to how they made you feel whole, alive, worthy. For a moment. And when they pull away, it's not just heartbreak, it's withdrawal. Welcome to the projection loop. First, you feel incomplete. Then, someone arrives who seems to fill the void. You project your missing piece onto them. You feel euphoric, obsessed. Then they disappoint you, and the emptiness returns. So you seek again and again and again. But the truth is, you're not missing anything. You just haven't reclaimed it yet. Healing doesn't come from winning them back. It comes from embodying the trait they once carried for you. When you finally own your projection, you say, they didn't give me aliveness. They awakened what was always mine. They didn't abandon me. They showed me where I still feared love. They weren't perfect. I needed them to be, because I feared my own imperfection. Owning your projection doesn't mean blaming yourself. It means freeing yourself No one can carry your soul for you. No one should have to. And then, Comey's integration. The final step, the return to self. You begin to cultivate within what you once chased outside. If you crave validation, you start offering it to yourself. If you sought magic in others, you begin to live magically. If you once idealized their courage, you now move with your own. And as you retrieve these parts, something beautiful happens. The need softens. The grasp loosens. The obsession dissolves. You no longer look to others for completion. You meet them from a place of fullness. You become the mirror. And when someone new enters your life, you don't fall in love with the projection. You love them as they are. You let them love you, not a mask, not a fantasy, but your real self. Because you are no longer looking to be completed. You are finally complete within. Asterisk, you think you've moved on. You think you're making different choices. But somehow, you find yourself living the same emotional story again and again. There's a voice inside that whispers, this time, it will be different. And maybe you believe it. Maybe. The smile is warmer. The promise is louder. The energy feels new. But unless something inside you has changed, the pattern hasn't. You'll find yourself sacrificing again, ignoring the same red flags, staying too long or leaving too soon for reasons that sound new, but feel strangely familiar. It's not foolishness. It's not weakness. It's unconscious loyalty to a wound that never got to close. Until you bring that pattern into the light, your ego will find ways to justify it. They're not like the others. I believe in second chances. This time feels different. But the truth? You're not choosing new people. You're choosing the same emotional outcome in a different costume. And here's the deeper truth. When trauma becomes your normal, healthy love feels foreign. If you were raised on silence, you'll crave people who disappear. If you are trained to earn love, you'll chase those who make you prove your worth. If chaos filled your home, calm might feel uncomfortable. You'll call it chemistry, but it's trauma resonance. It's your nervous system recognizing what it once survived. And when someone comes along who doesn't trigger the storm, who offers stability, presence, peace, you might not trust it. You might even push it away because it doesn't match. Inner blueprint of love. AO, learned in pain. Jung knew the psyche doesn't seek happiness. It seeks wholeness. So it keeps drawing in partners who reflect your shadow until you finally face it. The first step, awareness. Track the patterns, not just the people, but the feelings they stir. Ask yourself, what emotional story do I keep repeating? Where does this start? Who was the first one to make me feel this way? This is shadow work. It's not about blame. It's about seeing clearly. You're not cursed. You're not broken. You're not powerless. You're just unaware. But awareness changes everything. Because not every triggering person is a danger. Some are teachers. Invitations. To walk away when you once would have stayed. To speak your truth instead of shrinking. To hold a boundary where there was once a wound. That's what a conscious relationship offers, not perfection, but a space to practice. To say, these are my patterns. These are my needs. This is who I'm becoming. They may meet you in that space. They may not. But your response becomes the healing. You're no longer acting from your past. You're writing a new chapter in your present. And when the pattern breaks, so does the bond. Not with rage, not with drama. But with peace. The magnetic pull fades. The addiction dissolves. The relationship that once consumed you no longer owns you. It's not that you stopped caring. It's that you stopped projecting. And in that moment, you return to yourself. Too. The inner child who kept searching for love in faces that couldn't hold it. Now, they have you. And that changes everything.